I am here today with the Fallon McClure from the ACLU. And I got you here today, Fallon, because I want to talk to you about this phenomenal program that I thought the title was very witty. I got five on it. Now I'm a 90s kind of girl. I graduated in
Yes.
1995. So you know where my head went. I'm thinking
Yes.
the loonies. So
Hmm.
how did you let's start with that. How did
Uh-huh.
you come up with the title? Because it is so catchy.
So I don't know. I'm that random person that just comes up with things. And okay, short version. Typically, the ACLU of Georgia doesn't do GOTV. We're not a GOTV organization, right? We do legal, we do policy, but this cycle was just like an election that was too big to sit out and not to do everything possible that you think you could do, right? And
Yes.
so I knew that my boss was probably gonna, as we got closer to election, be like, we have to do something. And normally I'm caught off guard. So this year I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to get ahead of it. So as I was thinking, like, what can I do for GOTV? What can I do for GOTV? I was like, okay, election day is November 5th. And then from there, I just started thinking, I'm like, okay, what can we do? Ooh, 5 weeks of action leading up to November 5th. Ooh, I got five on it. And so, yes, it's a nod to the culture, but it's also like because election day is 11/5, it's 5 weeks of action, and each week you're talking to at least five people when you're taking the action. So
Yeah.
it's all about the fives.
I love it. You are a creative. You are an attorney.
Yeah.
Let's put some respect on your name. But you are also one of the most fashionable and creatives that I
Oh,
personally
thank
have ever
you.
met, in the legal field. So let's give you credit for this creative title. And thank you for explaining how you got there. Now you mentioned that there are five steps. Tell us more about what I got five on it actually is and represents.
Yeah, so it started October 1st and it ends, 11/5 election day. And the goal was to give people an easy lift if they're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get involved, or maybe I don't have a ton of time. So you can do it from anywhere and it's supposed to be like really accessible. So what
Mhm.
we did is we had people sign up on our website, and then once they signed up, we sent them a kit in the mail with everything they need, and it gave them instructions to join I Got Five on it in Reach.
Mhm.
And so Reach is a relational organizing tool. And so what we would do is so each week it tells you what action to do. So the first week was make sure everyone you know has registered to vote or checked their voter registration because that was prior to the October 7th voter registration deadline.
Mhm.
Week two was send postcards to everyone, letting them know that early voting is starting next week. Week
Mhm.
three was take five people and go and early vote because we know we're like, look, vote as soon as possible. So if you face any issues, that we have
Yeah.
time to help you fix them if there's any
Mhm.
concerns. Week four was knock on five of your neighbors' doors and leave a like 'cause again we sent a kit so it had door hangers postcards already in this kit so you could just leave them on your neighbor's door that just says make a plan, vote early, through November 1st or vote on 11/5 election day. Just really
Mhm.
simple, right? And then finally we're in week 5 now and it's all out. Text everyone you know, call
Mhm.
everyone you know, make sure that they've already voted. If they haven't, make sure, tomorrow's the last day to vote or they have a plan to vote on Tuesday. And so while people are in Reach, it's also like a competition. There's
Yes.
rankings, so the more people you contact, so people have been excited about being on the leaderboard. It's also a community. We have a chat, and people are getting to know each other and encouraging each other in there. And each week, we've also had some special actions. So if you're in Reach, you get to do some special things with us, like a teletown hall, or and get involved in our textathon, or we're a partner with the When We All Vote rally. So we
Yeah.
encourage people to sign up and go hear Mrs. Obama speak. And then this week, the special action is we're having another election night eve virtual textathon and election eve rally to like make sure that we touch everyone that we can.
I love the enthusiasm. And I read that the goal was to reach what, 10,000 voters across 100 counties in Georgia. Okay. So
Yeah.
how did you all come up with that number? And how are you faring right now?
So our goal was well, Georgia has 159 counties, and in a perfect world, I would love to have at least one person participating from all the 159 counties. But I
Mhm.
was trying to be somewhat realistic. So I felt like 100 counties would be like a more attainable goal. We're not quite there for the 100 counties, but there is a map on our website. And so you can see where the people have signed up. So if you go to
Wow.
acluga.org/GOTV Georgia, it has all our I Got Five on it stuff, but there's also a map. So you can see where people are participating. So that's super cool. I have not checked the actual full contacts yet, but I know that we've had over 118 individual people sign up. We've had over 8 groups sign up as like group signups, and that's, groups like members of the Links, House Alumni, League of Women Voters, Bard Business, Alliance for Black Lives. So they're all participating as groups. And so I'm really excited to check all the numbers of the participation, but I think we're going to get close to that,
Yes.
goal.
So what do you need in this final push, and what would you tell voters?
Well, we'll tell voters, if you can, get out and vote tomorrow, early voting. If not, make sure you have a plan for election day. There's several organizations that are also providing rides to the polls or lift codes. So just, try to think about it in advance if you can. So if anything arises, you have time to make sure that your voice is heard. Also, a big thing is if you have an absentee ballot, we're at the point now that you really need to put it in a drop box and not mail it back USPS, just because we know there's been some delays and stuff with the mail.
Mhm.
And so the USPS themselves are like, at least mail it a week ahead just to make sure it gets there. So we want to make sure so if you still have your absentee ballot in hand, please put it in a Dropbox. If you haven't received your absentee ballot yet, please make sure that you have a plan to just go ahead and go vote, because we want to make sure, and I know that's easier said than done, especially if you requested an absentee ballot. It's probably because you're not, it's not as easy and accessible to get to the polls, but that would be one of our biggest things. And then, of course, as related to I Got Five on it, just reach out to the people you know. Sometimes I think we make assumptions, especially with our family and friends, that they know what to do, that they've already voted, that they, so it just takes a second just to be like, hey, have you, check in. Like I text my little brother when I went early voted, hey, do you have a plan? It's just that simple. And then, with my daughter who is living in DC now, I was like, hey, making sure you got your ballot and everything. But that girl requested her absentee ballot back in August. So she was like, I am making my voice heard. So yeah.
Your daughter knows who her mom is.
Yes, she knows.
So, Fallon, tell us. I know we're hearing all these conversations across media, but because you work with the ACLU, tell us why this election is so critical and why this is a pivotal point for us in the U.S.
Oh, wow. So I feel like a lot of times we're like every election matters and everyone is consequential. And while that may be so, I feel like there are definitely ones that are, and I don't even want to say more significant than others, but have more consequences than others. We can look to history when we look to, after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and when Lyndon B. Johnson was, coming to office, and there was a push to get the Civil Rights Act in, the 1964 and 65 Civil Rights Act. And so it was very consequential that we got certain people in office because that would advance our rights, right? And I really feel like that's the type of situation that we're in now. The ACLU, of course, and the ACLU of Georgia are nonpartisan, but we definitely can talk about like what matters to us, the issues that matter, and what's going to happen, depending on who wins. And so, for instance, one of the things that I think that sometimes is not talked about enough is, women's reproductive choices and healthcare. And so, as the ACLU of Georgia, we fought against it in the legislature when it came up in 2018. We sued on it after it went into effect. And then this election cycle with the new ACLU National PAC, we spent $300,000 messaging around the issue in 3 House districts that we felt like were particularly consequential. And so those are House districts 105, 108, and 145. But these, like having the right people in office at all the levels really impacts like our access to care. We look at, what unfortunately happened to Amber Thurman and how many other women that we don't even know their names because they couldn't get the care that they needed because doctors were like trying to figure out, can I provide care, or if I might lose my license, and that's other people that I'm not going to be able to help. And so whatever your issue is, I think, well, not your issue, but whatever issue is most important to you, whether it's, access to health care, and that goes beyond, abortion rights, but we're talking about like expanded Medicaid, whether it's criminal justice reform, whether it's First Amendment rights, privacy surveillance technology, it goes on and on. I think there are some clear lines in the sand that have been drawn about who is going to protect those things for us and keep us moving forward versus us going back to not great things or backwards in time, essentially.
Yeah. There's a lot at stake. And I like the fact that you reminded us that this is not just a presidential election, but it's local elections as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Fallon, tell us how we can get more information on I Got Five on it.
Yeah, so if you go to our website, www.acluga.org. Everything's on our website. There's a link at the top for I Got Five on it. There's links for voter information, for any questions or things you might have. There's a link to learn more about the electoral races that we're working in, if you're interested to see where some of those candidates stood on issues. Anything you need, you're thinking you might need to protest after the election, there's Know Your Rights information on protecting your First Amendment rights. So anything you need, including the I Got Five on it, is on our website.
Awesome. And I want you to promise me that you will come back and talk about the work that the ACLU is doing, because you all do so much. I mean, especially with voter education. So will you promise to come back and talk about that?
Yes, I will promise to come back and talk about it.
Okay. Well, Fallon McClure, ACLU, I Got Five on it. Thank you so much for joining us here at Rolling Out.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to further conversations.
Awesome. Thank you.